It was a glittering evening in Manhattan, where the city's elite gathered at an exclusive, high-end restaurant perched atop a towering skyscraper. This venue was known for its impeccable service, gourmet dishes, and breathtaking views of the city skyline. The restaurant's ambiance was carefully curated to reflect sophistication. Soft, ambient lighting bathed the space in golden hues, while the subtle strains of classical music floated through the air. Patrons indulged in their meals, savoring the experience of fine dining. Among the diners that evening was a tall young man with striking features and a calm demeanor. Dressed in an elegant but understated suit, he walked into the restaurant quietly, drawing little attention. Barron Trump, the youngest son of former President Donald Trump, had grown up under the scrutiny of the public eye, but had always managed to maintain a low profile. Now, in his early 20s, Barron was carving out his own identity, far from the political spotlight his family was accustomed to. This particular evening, Barron wasn't there for leisure. Unknown to most, he had recently acquired the restaurant. He wanted to experience the establishment as any other guest would, to observe the service, evaluate the atmosphere, and understand what improvements might be needed. He was seated at a cozy corner table, offering him a panoramic view of the restaurant. The soft flicker of candlelight danced across the polished marble table, and Barron opened the menu, taking in the meticulously crafted offerings. The waitstaff bustled around the room, attending to patrons with a mix of efficiency and poise. However, when a particular waiter approached Barron's table, the tone shifted. The waiter, a man in his late 30s with a slightly disheveled appearance, seemed hurried and irritable. He glanced at Barron, his expression revealing a flicker of disdain. "What do you want to drink?" the waiter asked brusquely, without a greeting or smile. Barron, maintaining his composure, replied politely, "I'll start with a sparkling water, please." The waiter rolled his eyes. "All right, be back when I can." He walked off without another word, leaving Barron slightly puzzled but unfazed. As the evening progressed, the waiter's attitude didn't improve. When Barron placed his order for the entree, the man sighed audibly, as if the request was an inconvenience. Plates were placed on the table with a clatter, and any attempts by Barron to engage in conversation were met with curt, dismissive replies. Nearby diners noticed the waiter's unprofessional behavior and whispered among themselves. "That young man hasn't done anything wrong," murmured an older woman to her companion. "Why is the waiter being so rude to him?" Barron, ever composed, continued his meal, quietly observing the interactions around him. He noticed how the waiter treated other guests with a semblance of courtesy, though his patience seemed thin. It was clear that Barron, perhaps because of his youth or unassuming demeanor, was being singled out for poor treatment. At one point, Barron asked for a simple condiment. The waiter huffed, muttering under his breath, "Can't you just eat what's on your plate without making a fuss?" The remark drew gasps from a nearby table. A middle-aged man leaned over to Barron and whispered, "If I were you, I'd ask to speak to the manager." That kind of attitude is unacceptable. Barron smiled slightly and replied, "I appreciate your concern, but let's see how this plays out." The waiter's final act of rudeness came when Barron requested the check. The man handed it over with a smirk, saying, "Hope you've got enough to cover it, kid. This isn't exactly a burger joint." The insult hung in the air, drawing the attention of several patrons. Barron remained calm, taking out a sleek black credit card and handing it to the waiter. The man's smug expression faltered for a moment as he processed the payment, but quickly returned as he handed the card back. "Have a good night," the waiter said sarcastically, clearly dismissing Barron. Instead of leaving, Barron looked up and said evenly, "I'd like to speak with the manager, please." The waiter's smirk widened, assuming Barron was about to complain about the bill or the prices. "Sure thing," he said, his tone dripping with false politeness. Moments later, the restaurant's manager, a distinguished man in a tailored suit, approached the table. His professional demeanor masked his curiosity about the situation. "Good evening, sir. I understand you requested to see me," the manager said. Barron rose from his seat, extending a hand. "Good evening. My name is Barron Trump. I recently acquired this establishment, and tonight I've been here to observe its operations." The manager froze, his hand hovering mid-air. Around them, the room fell silent as diners strained to hear the exchange. "I've noticed many positive things about the restaurant," Barron continued, his tone calm but firm. "However, I've also observed behavior that falls far below the standard I expect in a place of this caliber." The waiter, who had been standing nearby, paled as the realization hit him. His hands trembled as he stammered, I didn't know, sir." "I'm so sorry." Barron turned to him, his expression neutral. "It's not about knowing who I am. Every guest here deserves to be treated with respect and dignity, whether they're a billionaire or someone celebrating a special occasion on a budget. That's the ethos I want this restaurant to embody." He looked back at the manager. "I trust you'll address this issue appropriately. Everyone deserves a chance to improve, but there must also be accountability." The manager nodded vigorously. "Of course, Mr. Trump. I'll ensure it's handled immediately." As Barron prepared to leave, the waiter approached him, tears welling in his eyes. "Thank you for not firing me on the spot. I promise to do better." Barron regarded him for a moment before saying, "Mistakes happen. It's how you respond to them that defines your character. Use this as an opportunity to grow." With that, Barron exited the restaurant, leaving behind a room full of stunned patrons and a staff newly inspired to uphold the highest standards. From that day forward, the restaurant became renowned not just for its food, but for the impeccable respect and service extended to every guest, thanks to a young owner who led by example. Share your thought in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I pour my heart into crafting stories like this for you, and your support is the one helps me keep going. I appreciate having you on this journey,